Marina had always tried to be invisible. It seemed that life itself had taught her not to stand out and never to raise her eyes at those who loved to make jokes at her expense. That evening, as usual, she was mopping the floor in the small cafe where she had been working for the past 2 months. The mop squeaked against the tiles, and her head was bent so low, as if she were trying to hide from the whole world. Her colleagues had gotten used to mocking her. Those weren't light-hearted jokes, but rather biting remarks, sometimes cruel, sometimes poisonous. Yet Marina remained silent, not because she couldn't respond, but because she didn't want to. She always felt that to argue, to defend herself, or to scream would mean to sink to the level of those who thrived on malice and envy. She knew if the shift turned out to be busy, if the cafe filled up with guests, and the waiters had no time to spare, then she could get through the day in peace. In such moments, Marina even welcomed the noise and the rush. It meant they would at least leave her alone. Marina Swetka, the most spiteful of the waitresses, drawled, "So tell me, when you walk down the street, people must faint right away from your beauty." Laughter rippled through the room. Marina didn't raise her head, but the tormentor didn't stop. "No, wait. People don't faint. They die on the spot. Because if a beauty like you showed up at night, well, that'd be enough to make anyone stutter for life." Marina kept on scrubbing the floor. Her heart tightened, but her face remained still. She had learned to live that way, never showing her pain. Suddenly, the storeroom door burst open. The cafe manager, Pavel, stood on the threshold. His voice was sharp. "What's going on here? The hall is full, and you're standing around chatting? Do you want to be looking for new jobs tomorrow?" The waiters scattered in an instant. Silence fell. Marina let out a quiet sigh of relief when Pavel glanced briefly at her and left. He was the only one in that place who never uttered hurtful words toward her. She often thought it was thanks to him that she had been hired at all. During the interview, Marina had been certain they would reject her again because of her face. A scar, an old burn from infancy, stretched across her cheek and neck. No one in the orphanage really knew how it had happened. A doctor once told her that the burn must have been caused by a fire when she was less than a year old. Her parents were never found, and Marina was placed in the orphanage. From then on, she kept hearing the same words. "They gave you up because you're ugly." Those words had carved themselves into her memory and remained there, like a rusty knife. Her only link to the past was an old photograph. It showed a young woman with 2 children, one in her arms and another, a boy of about 5, holding her hand. No inscriptions, no dates. Marina always believed the woman was her mother. That evening, the cafe was unusually busy. Groups of people came in, tables filled up, and the air carried the scent of coffee and fresh pastries. Marina glanced into the hall and noticed a man. He was sitting at the nearest table, speaking on the phone, lazily stirring his cooling coffee. Young, about 30, maybe a little older. Nothing particularly special, and yet something about him drew my gaze. She stole glances at him until, unexpectedly, he looked up. Their eyes met for a brief second. Marina blushed and turned away immediately. Her heart pounded violently, so that it felt as though it might burst. She thought the man might have noticed her attention and been unsettled by it. A few minutes later, he was gone. Only the empty table remained, and beneath it, Marina spotted a wallet. She looked around. No one noticed. Without hesitation, she grabbed it and rushed outside. The man was already walking toward his car. "Wait!" she cried. He stopped and looked at her in surprise. "You dropped this," Marina said, handing him the wallet. The man patted his pockets, frowned, then sighed of relief. "Damn, yes, it's mine. Thank you. All my documents, cards, money, everything's in here." He pulled out a few bills and offered them to her. "Please, take it, a token of my gratitude." But Marina froze. Her gaze was fixed on the photograph, neatly tucked into the wallet's transparent pocket. "Where did you get this photograph?" she whispered. "I have the same one. I always thought it was my mother." The man paled. "What?" he said softly. "From the orphanage? How old were you when you got there?" Marina lowered her eyes. Her heart raced wildly. She wanted to reply, but fear overwhelmed her. Words stuck in her throat. "I'm sorry," she breathed, and fled back into the cafe. That night, Marina didn't close her eyes. Thoughts tangled and tore at her. What if I do have family? What if my mother never abandoned me? What if everything was different? But then came another thought. No, better to believe they died. That's easier. Otherwise, I'll have to admit I was unwanted, that they chose to leave me. The next morning, she showed up at work with lifeless eyes. Pavel watched her closely. "You don't look well. Are you sick?" "No," she lied. "I just didn't sleep." "Go home, rest. I'll find someone to cover for you." Marina thanked him and left. Her steps were slow, her thoughts tangled. She felt something was coming. The little house where Marina lived had been given to her by the state, old, needing repair. She worked on it little by little, fixing it up with her own hands. The furniture was shabby, the walls patched up, but for her, it was precious. The only place where she didn't have to hide her scars from strangers' stares. She decided to distract herself with cleaning. Taking off the scarf that usually covered her scarred neck, she began to wash the windows. Suddenly, a car pulled up outside her gate. Her heart dropped. It was the same car. The man from yesterday got out, but he wasn't alone. Beside him stood an elderly woman with a cane. Marina paled. Why is he here? What if he thinks I took something from his wallet? What if he accuses me? Panic seized her. There was a knock at the door. "Hello," said the woman kindly. The man added, "Don't be afraid. My name is Artyom, and this is my grandmother, Galina Sergeyevna." "We believe you're my sister." Marina sank into a chair. Her heart thundered so loudly she barely heard their words. Galina Sergeyevna wiped her tears and began to speak. She confessed that years ago she hadn't approved of her son's choice to marry a girl from the orphanage. She thought the girl unworthy. Her son distanced himself, but he was happy. He had 2 children, Artyom and Marina. Then came the fire. The parents died. Artyom survived, and the little girl was taken to another city. The doctors said her chances were slim, her face badly burned. The grandmother convinced herself the child had died and told Artyom he no longer had a sister. "Forgive me, child. I'm guilty. I was afraid my grandson would hate me if he learned the truth." Marina looked at her, and unexpectedly, a gentle smile crossed her face. "I don't hold a grudge. In fact, I feel relieved. All my life, I thought my mother abandoned me. But now I know she loved me." Artyom took her hand. "Now you have a family, and everything will be different. A year later, Marina sat in the same cafe, but this time not in a uniform. She wore a beautiful dress. Next to her were her brother, Artyom, and grandmother. Her face bore no deep scars anymore. Plastic surgery had changed her life. When the waitress came to their table, Marina recognized her immediately. Svetka, the very one who had once mocked her. Svetka's face went pale, and her eyes flickered with both envy and shock. Marina only smiled. She stood and walked toward Pavel's office. He rose to meet her, smiling warmly. "I always knew you were beautiful," he said. Marina laughed and, with newfound confidence, said, "Pavel, may I invite you on a date?" He laughed in return, and here I was, trying to figure out how to say that myself. And a year later, in that very cafe, they celebrated their wedding.